You ever been talking to a woman and the whole conversation you sitting there thinking to yourself, what the hell is she talking about?
I was just patient, never try skating. Fuck niggas hating.
If you are the type of person who lives in reality, therefore things that actually exist and things that actually happen, you accept the truth, you speak the truth, you live and dwell within the truth, regardless of how it feels. You process the truth quicker than others. And you say, okay, she's gone. Okay, she cheated. Okay, I failed. You take accountability. If that is the type of man or person that you are, you're going to feel crazy when you're having a conversation with a delusional person. They're going to make you question your reality. I think it's important to know that sometimes this isn't done intentional. So you might feel like this person is trying to outsmart you or trying to convince or confuse you, but really you're confusing yourself, not intentionally, but it's because your brain is of discernment and it's inquisitive and it's trying to figure things out and process things. So when a brain like you or a person like you has a conversation with somebody else, you naturally try to see what you can extract from them as vital information that can be used to help you make or find a better understanding of things. But when you talk to a delusional person, they're so far onto the other side of the spectrum that there's no reality. They're not reality-based people. So the information that you get from them contradicts your beliefs, and you start to doubt yourself, and you start to question yourself. And there's a term for it. It's called gaslighting. When you talk to somebody and they're just trying to convince you that reality didn't happen, you didn't see what you actually saw. So you start going crazy because you're like, is this person delusional or am I the one who's crazy? And in this video, I want to discuss how simply having a conversation with delusional people will drive you crazy and what you can look out for. So before I get started, I wanted to break down the definition of reality and versus the definition of delusion. I know we know what that means, but it felt good to me to read the definition because in my head I had an idea of what it was, and then I was validated when I looked at the definition. The definition of reality is the world or the state of things as they actually exist, as opposed to an idealistic or notional idea of them. I thought to myself, that makes perfect sense. That sounds like reality. Is you pretty much knowing what is actually exist, things that actually exist versus ideas you might have. Now, you can't assume that your ideas are reality. They don't actually exist. They exist in your mind, but they have not been manifested yet. So these are like people like who are conspiracy theorists who concoct their own idea of what happened based off of maybe a few pieces of evidence, but the rest of the story they make up. There's no evidence that will support their claims. Okay? So then I said, okay, then if I'm a reality-based person, so things that actually exist, I can accept and I acknowledge those things versus me living in this idealistic world. What is delusion? Delusion is characterized by or holding false beliefs or judgments about external reality that are held despite incontrovertible evidence to the contrary, typically as a symptom of a mental condition. So what I got from that was that somebody being delusional is pretty much having false beliefs about external reality, and it's evidence, things that they're indisputable. You can't deny, but they deny them anyway. They have the capability to deny physical evidence of things. So as you can imagine already, if you are a reality-based person talking to a delusional person, it's like mixing salt or excuse me, it's like mixing oil with water. They're never going to become one. You're going to, even if you stir it 1,000 times, you're going to stop. And once it sets, you're going to see that, okay, there's oil in this water. Okay. So you're the water, she's the oil, and you guys will never mix. It's important for you to know this, because if you are trying to deal with a delusional person, you're not going to change their mind, and they're not going to change your mind. This is going to be oil and water mixing around in that pot for all eternity. And this is why when you have conversations with these type of women, you feel confused. It's like something is trying to dominate your brain. Something is trying to control the way you think. Something is trying to get you to denounce your reality. And you're just in a battle, a long-term battle, and you're scratching your head and things aren't changing. And you're like, I do not understand this person. Why does she think like that? In this video, I'm going to show you a few signs that can be used as proof that you are dealing with a delusional or person who has a skewed sense of reality. They have the ability to make up reality as they go. And when you, a person living in reality, converse with these people, you are made to feel crazy. Like you don't know what you're talking about. You think you know everything. You need to shut up and confine to the way I think. As you probably can see by now, how this can easily be used as a manipulation tactic. Let's jump right into it. So I have 10 signs that you are dealing with somebody who has a skewed sense of reality. Number 1, they can justify things that simply and plainly do not make any sense at all. I remember one time I was talking to this dude, and matter of fact, even this woman. Yep, I heard multiple people say this before, but I felt like it would be a good example in this video here. I remember talking to a girl who she says that she has more control of the car when she's speeding. So she said, I have to speed when I drive because I feel like I have more control over the car. If I'm driving slow, then I feel like I don't have control over the car. And you kind of scratch your head to that because you're like, something about that doesn't make any sense. Or it's like wearing sunglasses at night. You know, it looks cool, but it doesn't really make sense. Or I had a male friend tell me that he drives better when he's drunk and off some pills. And again, you're like, that's not possible. It is possible, but it's not really possible. See how you're already questioning yourself because you're like, maybe they're saying that they have more focus when they're under the influence. But we all know that that's how you get into an accident. That's how you fall asleep behind the wheel. That's how you hurt somebody else that was on their way home to their wife and children because you veered off and you crashed into them. DUIs cause accidents. DUIs take lives, but you have people who say, I drive better when I'm drunk. Okay, so this is a skewed sense of reality because it's like, no, that's not the best thing to do. The best thing to do is when you're operating heavy machinery is to be sober, right? Can that be denied? They will deny that. Somebody who has a skewed sense of reality will watch this video and say, I do. No, I know for a fact I drive better when I'm drunk. What are you talking about? And then people who live in reality are saying to themselves, no, I'm a trainer at my job and I teach people about safety. And you want to be sober when operating heavy machinery. They'll never mix. That person will probably quit that job and feel like that trainer was doing too much and think they know everything. Or Uncle Tom, or whatever they want to call him. So you can see that these two different mind states will never mesh. So when you're talking to a woman who has a delusional state of mind or she has a skewed sense of reality and she believes things, ideas of things instead of what actually exists in reality, conversation's going nowhere. And if you pick up these signs early on, then you can know who you're dealing with. You're dealing with somebody who is trying to dominate your mind. You're dealing with somebody who is trying to control your narrative. You're dealing with somebody who doesn't respect your brain power, your capacity, your thoughts, or reality, things that don't even have nothing to do with you. And this is fueled by a mental disorder. So it's not even like they're intentionally trying to manipulate you. It just, by default, you're not understanding where they're coming from. So you're feeling like, is this person trying to run game on me? No, not in every case. Sometimes that person is just living in a skewed reality. And when you guys are having a conversation, there's just no way that you two can come together. Number 2, signs of someone who has a skewed reality or a skewed sense of reality. They believe even when they're wrong, they're still right. The reason why is because they feel that being wrong is just an opportunity to learn. To a degree, this is another one of those things that you'll be like, well, the guy who invented the light bulb, he attempted to do it like 1,200 times, I think, before he actually was successful. So he failed 1,200 times until he succeeded once. And now, voila, we have a light bulb. So I feel how they might think that failing or being wrong is still right because it's getting them closer to being right. But nobody is okay with being wrong. You do more work to find out and research to find out how to do things different. You don't keep trying the same thing over and over again. You try something different. So I want to believe that in reality, he might have failed 1,200 times before getting it right, but he didn't do the same exact thing 1,200 times before getting it right. He switched and tweaked at least one thing about it each time he did it. So he technically tried once 1,200 times because he tried this once, it didn't work. He tried that once. He didn't say, I tried the same thing, like he's beaten at it 1,200 times. You see what I'm saying? So their thinking is, I can do the same thing 1,200 times and eventually it'll work. That's not how it works. So you accepting the fact that you were wrong and thinking that that's okay because you're still right. You ever talk to somebody and they say, when it comes to like a principle of something, they say, you tell them about something that happened at work or something like that. Yeah, they fired me because I was late. And I felt like they shouldn't have fired me because I've been working there for 15 years and I made it all the way up to being the supervisor. And then this person says, you guys are both right. And you're like, how are we both right? Somebody has to be right. Somebody has to be wrong. Reality is, regardless of how long you worked at a company, if they have an attendance policy that says you can't be late more than 3 or 4 times, and then you do that, you get fired. Reality is, nobody cares that you worked there for 15 years and that you worked yourself up to supervisor. That does not have anything to do with their attendance policy. Their attendance policy still exists in reality. You working there for 15 years didn't do away with the attendance policy. Again, I could already hear the mind of a delusional person that would disagree with me on this and be like, they shouldn't even be paying attention to the attendance because I did such a good job in this area that they should just forget about that. Stick with me. I'm going to help you understand something. You'll never mesh with somebody who has a delusional sense of reality or a skewed sense of reality, especially if you are somebody who lives within reality, acknowledges it, respects it, and desires it. Number 3, they thrive off of your empathy. Let me explain. They're entitled to you understanding the circumstances that they brought upon themselves. They feel they shouldn't be judged, but you should understand that their behavior is simply a response to unfortunate circumstances. Again, even when they're wrong, they're still right. So what's happening here is somebody who is constantly making mistakes, constantly doing stuff that they shouldn't be doing, and they expect you to be understanding. Well, you don't get why I'm doing this? Look how hard my life is, or look what I went through. This is why I act the way I act. They are justifying their behavior because of their unfortunate circumstances, but they thrive through empathy and you understanding it. Therefore, they don't have to be held accountable. They don't have to make adjustments to their behavior. They just want you to understand that the reason why they keep messing up is because unfortunate circumstances, and you should not be judging me because I am put in unfortunate circumstances. You need to have empathy. You need to understand that I'm not perfect because look at my life. And then you're thinking to yourself, I do have empathy. I do understand that things are sometimes out of our control. But I do feel like there are things that are 100% in your control. Like whether or not you respond in an aggressive or emotional manner to conflict, or whether or not you choose to be respectful of other people's boundaries and wishes. These are things that you have total control over. This is the type of person that you'll hear them say, I smacked her because she made me go crazy. I only yell at her. I only yell at you because you don't ever be, it's talking to you is so difficult that I have to respond like this. Or I only respond emotional because I love you. And you're like, I ain't buying that shit. You are just as accountable for your actions as I am. As you can probably see, why you never mesh with this person. Why a conversation with this person is going to be a conflict. Before anything else, it was a conflict to begin with. Number 4, they have addictive personalities. This person, what I mean by addictive personality is exactly that, but let me break it down. Having an addictive personality, you can have addiction to substance abuse, alcohol, drugs, sex, and, they try to justify their addiction. Or not even just justify it, they kind of like rationalize and say, that's the only thing I'm bad at. I gotta have crack. I gotta have coke. That's something, when I do coke, I focus better. I'm better at work. I can't go to work unless I'm high. And you're like, you don't need anything. You rely on this thing. But you can legit thrive. You weren't born a crackhead. You weren't born an alcoholic. You chose to indulge, and then you chose to overindulge, which makes you an addict. And then they justify their indulgence. They say, I only do it once a day. I only spend $300 a week on mine. I know people that spend $1,200 a month on or $1,200 a week on theirs. And you're like, that does not justify your addiction. Oh, these are prescription drugs that you can go to a pharmacy and get. So these ain't technically drugs. Yes, they are. That's why you see on the side of the pharmacy, it says the word drugs. Yeah. Just because they're not a street drug that you went and got from the local D-boy doesn't mean that they're not drugs. You see how the skewed sense of reality, how that can be a conversation that sparks a conflict with these people? Because they feel like they went and bought these pills from somebody who got them from over the counter, that's not illegal drugs. That's not abusing drugs. That's not using drugs. They weren't subscribed to you, or they weren't prescribed to you. You don't have a condition that requires you to take this medication in order for you to be better. You take this medication because you believe it's making you better. You're abusing it. Let's move on, because I know they don't want to hear nothing I'm talking about. I already know this. Number 5, they perceive everything as an insult. They listen with offended ears. They are already offended. As soon as they hear one slight through what you're saying, let me explain to you what I mean by they listen offensively. they are already dealing with knowing that something isn't right. It's an imbalance on the inside of them. So when you open your mouth, they're anticipating your insult. You could be opening your mouth to give them a compliment, and they're like, what you finna say? So anything and everything that you could possibly say will be used against you. I've talked to somebody and thought we were having a joking conversation before. Like, man, that was funny. Woo. And then next time I spoke to that certain person, they remembered certain things I said that they perceived as slights. And I was like, I wasn't even thinking about you. I wasn't even talking about you. That didn't even apply. Well, maybe it does apply. That's why you thought that. But I wasn't trying to say that. So now you can see why that would be a conflict, because everything you say is going to be taken out of context. They're going to shift the narrative. You're insulting them every time you open your mouth, and you're not intentionally doing it. So you don't even know what to say. So now you're going crazy because you thought you know how to communicate in a healthy manner, and somebody is showing you that the way you're communicating is unhealthy. That's not somebody who communicates in a healthy manner isn't trying to offend you. If they tell you something and they're being direct and assertive, it's to help you, but that's not how it's perceived. It's perceived as you're being an a-hole. You're being a jerk. You're offending me. You're attacking me. So now you feel crazy. And this, again, makes you shut down who you are. Therefore, somebody is trying to dominate over your brain. And it doesn't necessarily mean that this is a manipulation tactic. It could be fueled by them having a mental illness. But that's why communicating with somebody who lives in who has a skewed sense of reality can drive you crazy. Because you're like, this isn't reality-based information. That didn't happen. But you're telling me it did. Or that did happen, and you're telling me it didn't. There's always the yin and the yang to every single subject, topic, conversation, incident, conflict, confrontation. Like, wow. You're in constant battle in your mind with this person. Your way of thinking versus how they think. Number 6, they're dealing with extreme self-hate. What I mean is this. These people can judge somebody for doing the very things that they're guilty of. Let me go deep. This can be an ex-felon, did years in prison, got out and changed their life, and now they judge people who have felonies, who are doing crimes, who steal, who resort to violence. They judge them. They look down their nose at them. They are beneath them. But they've done the same things. Now, let me stop you right now, because somebody's going to say, yeah, they made the changes in their life. You know, that's why they don't want to associate with that, because they already know where that's going and that you shouldn't do that. When you're dealing with self-hate, for instance, I'm a black man. If I was the type of black man who didn't like other black people, that's an example of self-hate. I'm not hating me, but I'm hating things that I do or that apply to me. Your brown skin, I'm hating on your brown skin when I have brown skin. That's self-hate. If I'm an ex-felon and I hate felons, that's an idea of self-hate. Okay? These people with skewed sense of reality practice and have extreme self-hate. They can judge people that are in the same position as them, or at least the same position they used to be. And then if life happens and they have to resort back to violence or doing things that they used to do, now they're just like you, the same person that they were judging. That's self-hate. Number 7, they envy people they claim to be better than. This is craziness. They envy people that they claim to be better than. How does that work? If you think you are better than somebody, why would you envy them? It's skewed. If you're better than them, you don't even think about them. Why would you hate on them? Why would you try to stop their shine? Why would you talk bad about somebody that you feel like you're better than? You wouldn't even give them a piece of your mind, of your time or anything, because you're like, I'm better than you. But these people are hating on and envying people that they claim to be better than. It's the way they're thinking is very contradictory. It doesn't make any sense. But you'll hear them justify this. No, what I mean, I'm not hating on them. You know, I just feel like they'd be better if they did this and that and the third. And you're like, I don't care which way you try to word it. If you were legit better than somebody in any way, you wouldn't be concerned with them. They wouldn't even be able to say a word to you. They can't get under your skin and convince you that you don't know what you're talking about, because in your head, you're better than them. So when they talk, you're just like, I don't want to hear nothing you got to say. That is a skewed sense of reality right there. Number 8, lying is justifiable because people are too judgmental. These people justify lying and say, I had to lie because if I knew I told you the truth, I knew if I told you the truth, you was going to judge me. That is not okay. Now, a piece of that's based on reality, because telling the truth, you do get judged. But lying is not okay. So you see how they put bits and crumbs of reality in their stuff? They can always see both sides. Some kind of way they can justify the way they think, even if it's off. So if lying is okay because you thought I'd be judgmental, so once I found out that you lied to me, I'm supposed to say, I understand why you lied, because I damn sure would have judged you. So all is forgiven. Don't worry about it. Yeah, you lied to me, but you had to protect yourself. Because if you would have told me the truth, although I would have had the ability to make a decision that better fit me and what I was looking for, because I know who you are, I do understand that if you would have told me that, you wouldn't have access to me because you told me the truth. Therefore, I accept your lie. And you can have access to me even though you shouldn't, because it was based off of false pretenses. And if you would have told me the truth from the beginning, I would have never indulged you. I would have never got involved with you. But you're right. If you would have told me the truth, you would have felt judged. So it's okay that you lied to me. That would sound like I'm living in a skewed sense of reality, because something's still missing. I'm still with somebody I shouldn't be with. And that inevitably leads to the road of destruction. But they can justify lying because people judge. They're too judgmental. Number 9, they talk in circles. They cannot have a straightforward conversation, and they do this to avoid any accountability. I remember one time I had this girlfriend and I asked her a simple question. I said, if me and you went to the club together as a couple and another man walked up to you and offered to buy you a drink, would you let him? She said, yeah. I said, why? She said, it's just a drink. I said, yeah, but people put date rape drugs in drinks. I would go to the counter with him and make sure that the drink, he didn't put nothing in it. So you'd let another man approach you in the club while you're in the club with me and buy you a drink. Yeah. And I was like, I'd buy you a drink if you went to the club with me. Why would you accept a drink from another man? She said, why are you tripping? That would save you money. Another man buying me drinks would save you money. I said, I wouldn't have taken my woman to the club if I didn't have money to buy her some drinks. That's not okay. You do not accept drinks from another man while you're with me. And I know there's women that's going to watch this part and be like, you're insecure. Another man can't buy your woman drinks? Boop. You are exactly the type of person I'm talking about. No. Another man can't buy my woman drinks, especially if she's there with me and I took her out to have drinks. Therefore, I am financially and mentally prepared to purchase a few drinks for my girl. The man is not necessary if he's not me. So we went back and forth in this conversation for about 45 minutes. And I said, do you know what it means when a man buys you a drink? She's like, what? I said, let me give you an example. Remember T-Pain's song? What did he say? He said, I'm going to buy you a drink. Oh, then I'm going to take you home with me. She said, oh, I didn't think about it like that. I said, of course you didn't. Because you have a skewed sense of reality. Just like any other woman watching this video that would agree with that. So they like to talk in circles, man. You'll have this, that was a 45-minute conversation that shouldn't even happen. That was 45 minutes of my life I'll never get back. From talking in circles with a motherfucker who was not understanding the logic and reality. Lack of ability to read the room and determine what they are such, they're overthinkers to the degree where they don't think nobody else is observing their behavior. And they judge every single thing. They're judging every single thing, and people could not even be thinking about them. But they think that they're the center, like somebody is looking at them and somebody could legit think nothing of them. But in their head, they're very important. Sound familiar? Lastly, number 10, nothing matters more than their status to them. Their status is the most important thing to them. So they have to uphold this image that gives them the illusion to be of a higher status than they are really in. This person isn't in touch with reality, therefore isn't in touch with the truth, therefore isn't in touch with their true self. They are in touch with ideas of things. I remember I had a friend, I said, you like Coke? And she said, I like the idea of Coke more than I like Coke. And that pissed me off. I said, I asked you if you like Coke, man. Do you want a Coke or no? But in retrospect, maybe she liked the idea of a refreshing drink. And maybe she didn't like the way Coca-Cola tasted. But that could have been a much simpler way of answering my question. She could have said, no, but I prefer Sprite. I don't like the way Coke tastes. Tastes like syrup. Give me a lime drink like Sprite or 7-Up. And I'd be like, cool, no problem. Problem solved. But as you can see, this person made something simple difficult. You'll hear these people when you have a conversation with them. It's a simple conversation. You ask them a simple question. You say, do you want to go to the store? Oh, man, I don't know about that store. Maybe in a little bit, right? Because right now I'm thinking about something else I need to get done. But you know what? Yeah, let's go to the store. And you're like, oh, my God, I just asked you if you wanted to go to the store. But some kind of way, there's a whole bunch of other stuff that has to be said first. And they have to work themselves back around to answering that question. And the whole time you're sitting there with your sober mind, you're sitting there waiting for them to answer the question. And sometimes they veer off and the question never gets answered. And you're like, hey, bro, I just wanted to know if you wanted to go to the store. That's it. Yes. No. Not the weather, what you're dealing with, who you don't like in this store. This store don't carry what you're looking for. Do you want to go to the store or no? If you are the type of person that very strong-minded, like me, Guilty. You can't sway my way of thinking. Only way that we can have a productive conversation is if I hear reality in your conversation. So when you're talking, I'm like, okay, I didn't consider that. That makes sense. And then now my brain is being opened, but because you're living in reality with me. But when I'm talking to somebody that is on the opposite side of the spectrum and their whole mind state is based off of ideas, conspiracies, theories, I don't do conspiracy theories. If you cannot prove it to me, if there's not any evidence of it, I don't care. I don't care. I don't believe everything I read. I'll go look at the definitions. Hey, they could be wrong too, but I felt like I knew what reality was. Then when I did the research on reality, it matched what I thought it was. Okay, cool. So you see how that happens? I wonder if that happens for conspiracy theorists. If they believe one thing and then they do the research and then it proves them to be right. I'm sure that they'll say, yeah, that's exactly what happened. I did the research. That's why I think the way I think. And then you're like, show me the research. Show me the proof. Where's that? I can't find it. Oh, they must have took it down. Oh, well, they worded it slightly different. But if you read between the lines, it's really saying this. And you're like, again, where's the facts? Where's the evidence? Where's the proof? It's not existent because it doesn't exist. Therefore, it's not reality. It's based off an idea that you made up in your mind. And that is not healthy. When I go through life, in closing, when I go through life and I'm trying to court a woman, I'm sitting across a woman and we're talking. We met on a dating app or we met in person. We exchanged phone numbers. I say, I would like to take you out on a date. And she comes with me on the date. And I'm talking to this person. If she has a skewed sense of reality, I'm going to know. Within the first 10 to 15 minutes, I'm going to know. She's going to answer all of my questions in a way that doesn't make any sense. Her logic is going to be off. I'm just going to be like, okay, no. Some people are better at pretending than others, so they know how to just answer your questions the right way. And that's why I have videos on questions that you can ask a woman who thinks she's outsmarting you. And then, you know how to proceed. I was talking to a woman on a dating app. Her dating app said she was 6 miles away from me. But it also said that she was in a different city that was obviously hundreds of miles away from me. And that didn't make sense to me. So I asked her, hey, are you in the city that I live in? And she said, yes. So we get off the dating app. On the phone, I said, so how long have you lived in the city that I live in? She said, well, technically, I don't live here yet, but I plan on moving here. Something just happened. Something didn't make sense to me. And when I asked about it later on, I was able to validate my thoughts. Now, some women would have said, yeah, I live here. And she would have kept that line going on until I started dating her, only to find out she don't live here. But my point is, if you are living in reality, therefore you can detect when somebody has a sense of skewed reality, you can avoid potential toxic, hazardous situations. If this video has resonated with you, please give me a like, comment, subscribe. If you're new to my channel, my name is Jerome, and this has been another episode of The Superb Word. I hope this helps people. I hope it helped you give you an idea of why when you talk to people you feel like you're going crazy. I had a friend once tell me that if you try to figure out how somebody who doesn't think like you thinks, you're just going to drive yourself crazy. And you don't need to do that. You don't need to go back and forth with somebody over their beliefs. Allow people to have their own beliefs and go about your business. I hope y'all have a wonderful rest of y'all evening. Till next time, 2 fingers.